Hello, hello. It's super late. Well, at least it is my time. So we're going to have a late night radio voice, which is also going to be aided by the fact that I'm recovering from a cold. So we're going to have that easy adult listening voice for this discussion. So, yes, I just wanted to pop on and mostly talk about this DC Marvel crossover because I think it's interesting and just based on the schedule that I currently have, I'm not going to get another chance to talk about it before it's old news, as they say in the news cycle. And there's just, I posted it in the community tab, and there was just this very interesting reaction in terms of some people being all for it, some people just noting, wow, it's been 2 decades since we've done this. Some were not pleased with the choice of characters because we have a Batman Deadpool and a Deadpool Batman because gotta do both. You've heard it both ways, and both ways are going to be accurate. So you can have something, some variation for both. But some people felt that those are some very oversaturated characters to choose. Others feel, well, that's the obvious it's the obvious choice because they're both popular. I will say that when my daughter saw the cover, she went, "Wow, that's cool." So let's keep the 8-year-old mind of a child in mind for some of this, but they are indeed potentially oversaturated. But there is going to be more to them because there's also going to be backups and other things. So we'll see where it goes. But this is the announcement that they decided to start with. Each of the companies put out a little press release. And so I figured it'd be fun to look at both. And also then Greg Capullo posted the cover that had some of the talent on the top. And that's where some people are getting some of the extra names in terms of where you're seeing, whoa, all these other people. And people are like, where is that? It's not in the actual announcement. It's because people are posting things on Twitter/X and other places. So if you're going around looking for it, then you might find some stuff. And maybe there'll be some Wonder Woman things for people. I know some people saw the covers and their first thought was, oh, no Wonder Woman. I don't know if they made that sound, but that was the sentiment. So let me pull up the first one that I'm sharing. I have the Batman Deadpool one up first because I really like the Dan Mora cover a lot. I like Dan Mora covers. What can I say? So let me pull it up. There we go. So Batman/Deadpool #1 arrives in comic shops this November. So start thinking about November from now, and it's not even June. They're really trying to get ahead of this because, oh, Marvel's one shot is coming in September. So you only got to think a little bit ahead. People are texting me. They're probably like, why are you live? Don't you need to sleep? So this is the one cover. I really like it. I just think it's a cool and fun cover. Oh, that was one of the other comments that somebody put that really did make me laugh, which was, why do we need this? We get this every time Harley Quinn pops up in the book. And that was just shots fired. Officer down. So they announced it. We have on Batman/Deadpool #1 will feature a lead story written by legendary scribe Grant Morrison and brought to life through the stunning artwork of Dan Mora. And then beyond the main event, Batman/Deadpool #1 will feature an exciting lineup of backup stories, each showcasing dynamic matchups between beloved characters from both universes. Details on these thriving tales, their creative teams will be coming soon. And potentially, we'll talk about it at an actual hour when more people are awake. But there's no guarantees. We can't guarantee that. So, what do you think? What do you think of this being the lead of the creative team that they're putting out there and that this is the pairing that they're leading off with? Would you have led with something else? Because I am seeing some people being like, these two characters. So who would you have led with? Alvin is coming in to be like, Catwoman. Catwoman should be the lead of things. Oh, Ben Chan, if only. If only. Paul versus Sorrow. Someone posted some really funny Paul fan art in the community tab on my channel of Paul just being swarmed by all of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man woman, and it's really great. So Here's what we have. We have quotes, of course. We have quotes from Jim Lee. I don't want to share too much, but it is just a very creative story in the best sense in terms of what Grant Morrison is known for. Dan Moore, of course, is just killing it right now. He is one of our perennial visionaries. I think for the DC universe, his style is just so dynamic, but also very clean and classic. In many ways, a sort of a fusion of Kurt Swan and maybe Gil Kane. When I see a Dan Moore piece, to me, that really sums up where the DC universe is at right now, and he just opened the door. Alvin's here. I think pairing both Grant and Dan, it was just the perfect choice to bring the story to life. And obviously, Grant has had seminal runs on both the X-Men and Batman. He knows these universes. He knows what makes these characters tick, and he distills it down in a way that's both enlightening and creative. I'm just excited for fans to be able to read his and Dan's take on this unique crossover, says Jim Lee. So we got quotes. So that's Jim Lee talking about what to expect, which is just basically hyping up the creative team. That's because the plot has to be secret. We shall see. What do you think the plot will be? Just let them fight? Let them fight. Hopefully there'll at least be some fighting. Are any of you fans of the past crossovers that they have done? I always enjoy them, even if they don't always work out the best in terms of narrative storytelling. Alvin's claws are digging into me. That's why I just so halted. Because I find them fascinating. Ooh, Hunter Fogelman is bringing up the point of, I don't know if Deadpool is really X-Men, though. Sometimes it depends on the era. X-Men adjacent? It depends. Are they accepting mutates at that point? Let's see what all of you are saying. Well, some of you are jumping ahead, or I guess back, because I started with the DC one, but that comes out after. Some of you are jumping back to the Marvel one and that creative team, which we will look at next. I will share that one too. Yeah, there have been some fascinating ones, because that's the other thing too, is if you're going to bring some of these pairings up, do you want to retread some of the pairings that have already happened, or do you want to try for some new ones? And also, you have to try and gauge who people want to see in this era and who matches up in terms of the current comic landscape. So I would love to hear some of your suggestions for that. I'm going to share the Marvel version of this, which for some reason is so much bigger. We need to zoom out and de-enhance. Here we go. Share this tab instead. All right, Deadpool / Batman #1 arrives in comic shops this September as they start off the most highly anticipated crossover event of the year. Just this year. We're not going to aim too high. Sometimes these announcements trying to get you real hype with of the decade, of the century, of the millennia. They're just going with for the year. They're trying to keep the standards in check. So what we have for this one. Deadpool / Batman #1 will be written by prolific Spider-Man comics writer and co-writer for Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine, Zeb Wells, and drawn by industry superstar Greg Capullo, an artist with an incredible legacy at both legendary comic book companies, with influential work on Batman and X-Men. They're really trying to hype up that people have worked on these before. Please trust us. They have, though. They have all done some really interesting work in the past with these characters. Oh, no, not this line. I think I liked the DC press release more. It didn't have lines like, it's the crossover you never expected but always wanted. I can't say that this was particularly unexpected. Would you call this unexpected? I don't think I can. I think if you went down the list of who were the, in theory, most popular characters, this is who you would land on. Common Sense, thank you very much. Elektra / Daredevil versus Silencer. I'm still reading through Batman 160, and you get to see some of Silence, because that's what I thought about when you said that. Because I was like, oh, there's so many characters who are flirting with having similar names. What do people think about that pair up, though? Is that something that you would want to see? James Bunt is saying, I would have expected Harley versus Deadpool. That would be too much. I think our brains would explode. The fourth wall just wouldn't be there. It would just be a comic of them talking to us. Shogunzilla, I like this one. Deadpool versus Deathstroke versus Red Tool. I did see some people saying that they felt that it should have been Deadpool and Deathstroke. And for the comedy, I would say that that's a good choice. That is my chair You can't see the back of my chair. I was foolish and did not treat it with anti-cat things, and so it's very sad. Prince Parker is saying, need Paul in this crossover. The funny thing is, King of New York, Deadpool Fartacular question mark is I feel like that would have been less odd. I feel like people would have batted less eyelashes at that, raised less eyebrows. Balls Monkey, thank you very much. Hope they revisit the Robin/Jubilee romance. They most likely will not, but I always thought that romance was cute. That was one of the things I liked from I was going to say original, but from the first crop of really big crossovers, because they've crossed over for decades before that, because we have Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Superman. They're fighting. They're fighting because they can't decide, Marvel or DC, which flip do they want? All right, do we have quotes down here? Oh, yes, we do have quotes. After writing Amazing Spider-Man for 60 issues, I told Marvel I needed a break. Marvel told me I could do that, or I could write a comic starring Deadpool and Batman with the best Batman artist of our generation. I no longer needed a break. This is Zeb Wells talking. In Batman, we've found someone who has even less time for Deadpool's antics than Wolverine, but a citywide threat from the Joker makes strange bedfellows. Literally, if Deadpool had his way, is he flirting with Batman or the Joker? You decide. Hopefully not Robin. It's been a blast letting Deadpool loose in Gotham City and watching what happens. We got a plot description from this one. They're not playing it so close to the chest like they were with the other one for Grant Morrison, where they're like, it's creative. Listen, creative. Although that one was a bit more teasy, but this one actually tells you, like, you're going to also see the Joker. How do you feel about that? Moondoggy, thank you very much. Aquaman versus Namor, then have a pinup section. It's just a pinup section. That's a very different Marvel swimsuit edition versus DC sweater weather covers, for those of you who were here when they did a whole bunch of sweater weather variants, and it was just people in cold settings wearing like swimsuits and stuff like that. Yeah, there's been some interesting variants of late. I want to pull up also, because I did get the cover that had some of the additional names on it, because people in the comments on the community tab, they keep adding names. Not everybody has seen some of the ones. So this was posted by Greg Capullo. So you can see Zeb Wells, Greg Capullo, Kevin Smith, Chip Zdarsky, Kelly Thompson, Adam Kubert, Terry Dodson, Guri Hiru, and more. So those are some of the creative lineups. Does that make you feel a bit more excited, a bit more curious about what is going to happen with this? I'm not even going to pretend that I'm not going to be buying this, because I am. Some people say that they feel that this is just a cash grab. Personally, I think, I would hope that most things that people put out, they want to do well and make some money so that they can make more of them. But for me, cash grab always has a bit of a connotation of the idea that people don't care whether it's good or not, the people making it. But that's not the vibe I'm getting from this. I mean, obviously there's an attempt to cha-ching, but I think they're also putting some effort into like who they're trying to put on it. I mean, DC is clearly pulling out a lot of stops, although Grant Morrison was hinting for a while on some podcasts and stuff about potentially returning for Batman things. Common Sense, thank you very much. Golden Age Human Torch versus Silver Age Red Tornado. I love that. Android fight, or whatever we'll call it. Just battle of the bots, even though they're not bots. We could add a few more. That would be you could get real niche. That would be really fun if you made some of the crossovers just incredibly niche. Like, we're only doing plant-based people this issue or something like that to try and increase the gimmick. It has been a while since the last one of these, because as they keep stating, like 2 decades. So, there are some people who have never seen some of these crossovers. I wouldn't say that it's too difficult to get access to the older ones, but they're not also the most readily accessible. They recently, time of streaming, released the Omnis, but even the Omnis didn't have everything or every crossover from... You think that it's good? You think that I'm getting in too deep in the weeds, Alvin? You disagree? What do you think? Who do you want to see? Catman or bust. I told my kids there was a Catman the other day and they didn't believe me, but there is. I really like the two covers they've released so far too. Though, this is going to be a variant extravaganza, especially once we start to see who some of the other pairings and verses or team ups are. Very concerned when I hear talk about Deadpool flirting, because sometimes they try too hard to make that funny and then sometimes it goes around and goes the other way. I like some of the pairings you guys are putting. Evan C. also, thank you very much. Also, he nipped me. Did you see that? That's why he had to get a bop. Because he nipped. Let's see. Who are some of your pairings? King of New York, Lex Luthor versus Professor X, Battle of the Bald Dudes. We can add more people to that. We're just going to put Kingpin in, because why not? Then we need to add more people to the other side. I like this one. Sideways versus Spider-Man by the better YouTuber named Logan. People would show up for Sideways, I think. Whenever I post anything with Sideways, there's always this little bit of, Sideways type of excitement that pops up. More so than some of the other characters who have been newly introduced. It's been a while for Sideways, hasn't it? Ooh. Axel Medellin is saying Zatanna / Doctor Strange. Yes, they're doing so much with Zatanna right now. Let's add to it. Let's keep the train going. Who would we do for Wonder Woman? Who would you want to see Wonder Woman versus / with? I do remember Damage. Ben Chan, thank you very much. Which Marvel character would you want Punchline to team up with or fight? I got tagged in a TikTok the other day. I'm on TikTok. I didn't respond to it. Not because I didn't watch or anything, but just I don't have time and I don't tend to think in like a TikTok headspace a lot of the time. But it was a younger person, was asking if there were any actual Punchline fans out there because they thought that she was so lame, and someone tagged me in it. I was like, I do genuinely like Punchline. Oh, I know who it would be. Hold on. There was a streamer character in Marvel for a bit. Who remembers what I'm thinking about? And when Punchline first came out, people were saying, oh, so it's just DC's version of blank, but I'm honestly entirely blanking on what her name is. Oh no. Was it? Someone's saying Screwball. Let me double check. Was it Screwball? It might have been. Yup, it was Screwball. You're right. You get the Marvel No prize. There we go. We can bring back two characters. Punchline and Screwball. Think the title be pretty good. Be pretty good. So yes, it was Screwball. Sorry. They're saying here she was a self-styled performance artist and the world's first live blogging supervillain. Let's go. It's writing itself. Battle of the streamers / bloggers. That's kind of interesting. Darth Gutierrez is saying Nightwing versus Daredevil. I like that word, upping Nightwing to facing off against leads, because sometimes people still put him in more of a sidekick category. It depends. It depends what's going on. There's some interesting things happening right now if you're reading the We Are Yesterday crossover. Oh, perfect. See? Angel of Death has us. Screwline. There we go. We've got it. Why is this not happening? You always come up with the best titles in the chat for things. Now they can't happen because they'll be like, oh, if we use Screwline, they're going to say we took it. No, we're giving you Screwline. It can be like 6 pages, a 6-page mini backup. Oh, I like this one too. Livewire versus Punchline versus Screwball. But we got to beef up the Marvel side then. It can't be 2-on-1. That's not fair. We've got to keep the sides equal. That's an interesting one. Ghost Rider / Orion. New Gods is so epic right now, by the way. I don't know. Angel of Death has that sounds ominous at this time of night. Angel of Death has a question. Hold on, I'll get to you, Matthew. Which is, any chance we get another amalgam? That would be interesting, but that's a lot of work and more long term. And while I do think they are putting effort into this, I'm not sure if it looks like the kind of long-term thing or more of a, look, we're cooperating and also please buy this and isn't this cool, which it is. You're seeing a lot of hype for it, which is understandable. I'm, for one, interested to hear more details and more plot details, even though no matter what the plots are, I'll be there. So Matthew Prower is pointing out the new Batman logo on the covers. I like the red alert. Red alert. New logo. I have to admit that I don't always clock in to when Batman has a new logo. I guess his logo isn't always that prevalent in my mind. That's why I couldn't hop on the bandwagon of his logo's too big for absolute Batman. Like, it looks like a brick. He's Brick Man. Let me see. There is this I just love just reading through and seeing some of the ones that you are pairing together. Or you want me to pull up the cover? I'll pull it up again. Hold on. I can do that. So there is that one. And then I can show you the Dan Mora one again too, if we want to like zoom in and enhance. Oh, Matthew's saying, I mean, it's more of a polygon bat than a brick bat. Well, yeah, because that would be an absolute. We need to wait for would that be fun for people? The absolute universe crosses over with the ultimate universe, or is that just a bridge too far? Have we gone mad at that point if we start looking into that? Luthor versus Doom, says Space Java. Who wins? We all do. ZK, I actually like this one because you're flipping it. Because people will often say that, Harley is DC's Deadpool, but they won't say it the other way around. So because of the timing. So, let's change that. Let's work to change it. 2099/beyond could be fun, says Wisp6. Also, today was just in general, aside from this announcement, which was not today, it was yesterday, but there were a bunch of really fun new comics. I read a bunch of them. Did any of you have the time or inclination to read some of the comics that came out today? I also have the new in comics this week from League of Comic Geeks, just in case anybody wants to see what came out, because I had to put myself back in there because, as you can see from my videos, I've been deep in a golden age and silver age mood. And I also reread all of 90s Starman over the weekend, and that was great. No regrets. Jack Knight for the win. But also, what's new out there? Gotta check out what's new. Yes, Shaw5 is saying RIP Peter David. I did post about that. Peter David wrote some of my absolute favorite Star Trek books ever. I will go back to them all the time. Let me pull out what came up this week. All right, share this tab instead. Then we add it to the stage and we make it bigger than me because that's what we want. There were... Ayona is saying, I didn't hate the new Green Lantern issue. I really enjoyed the new Green Lantern issue. I actually have some stills from it just because I thought the art was so cool. But here's a bunch of things. Yeah, Hush Chua Part 3. Let's go. I'm in the middle of it. I had to stop and think. I had to stop and think about it. That's not necessarily a good or bad sign. I was just like, I need to have a sit and think with myself about this. And it's rapidly becoming something that I know that I'm going to end up talking about. So read that partially and then had to stop. Read this, still enjoying Absolute Martian Manhunter. Read this, still enjoying Superman. This, because I need to keep up on the We Are Yesterday because it's gearing up to their whole new timeline thing. This, because it has so many obscure, characters and the like, that they're not obscure, but they're definitely less, well used. Yeah, I love this website. Lohit is saying I use this too. It's just so comprehensive as to what's coming out every week that I adore it because, sometimes you can forget. And it's also nice if you just want to go and look at how many variants there are, or if you just want to see what's out there or anything like that. Oh, Evan C is asking, wait, was We Are Yesterday gearing up to? Well, it seems to be gearing up to partially that new history of the DC universe that Mark Waid is set to write, because there's a whole bunch of time travel things happening now and characters remembering different histories that don't align with each other. And the whole thing of the ultimate, like, not the ultimate, but like the new DC history is that it's going to be a timeline that explains everything. So maybe I'm creating a connection where there isn't one, as humans tend to do. But I don't know. It makes sense, especially since it's writing both. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some all-in stuff too, for sure. Here's some, oh, you had to scroll down. This is just a nice magic cover. There's tackling happening out there. Here are some of the other things that are out there. Let me know what all of you are reading too. Oh, that's an interesting comment. Jethammer Takeoff is saying, I hope History of the DC Universe fixes Billy Batson's age conundrum. Yeah. They need to figure out how they're going to do Billy a lot of the time. Ah, yes, Mr. Terrific. I picked that up, have not read it as of yet. Same with Hyde Street, but I've just really been enjoying Hyde Street. What I'm waiting for Hyde Street is their trade announcement. I'm like, give me the trade. Put it in the trade. The Power Fantasy is one that I often get asked to talk about as well. I'm like, maybe one day. The Power Fantasy is certainly interesting. I did talk about Metamorpho, the first issue. Melissa loves comic books. I talked about the first issue, but I haven't returned to it. I talked about it in the context of how much of an homage it is to the 60s series that ran. Because it really is. And it's a lot of fun. It is a fun series. Rogue the Savage Land. I like Rogue the Savage Land. I feel like I need to read Giant Size X-Men, but then I think about all the Golden Age comics I could be reading. But I will. I'll get to it. I will get to it. Oh, the moon is following us. I like the moon is following us. Feral. Oh, I am catching up on Minor Arcana. I am not caught up on it. I'm reading that one on Global Comics. There's a bunch of these that come out fairly close to the same times, if not at the same time on Global Comics. And so I read a lot of things that way. I'm still very much enjoying that app. There's Metamorpho. I haven't read any of this Cable series, and I feel like I should because I like Cable a lot. And so definitely feels like I need to just support Cable. Oh, Gexel's saying the Mr. Terrific book is amazing. Well, that's promising. I like hearing that people are enjoying things, and so I'm going to be reading it later. I hope it is amazing. I've been enjoying a lot of comics lately. I want to keep the enjoyment train coming. At the same time, it's just been really fun to talk about some of the history and the like. I just really enjoy pulling all of the threads and all of the different layers that have come through down through the comic universe, and it's just really, really interesting. Does Global Comics have a dedicated app? Well, I mean, in terms of them they're a hub, so the comics are hosted on there. So the different companies have various different subscription deals with them, and you pay the subscription fee or don't. You can do it free as well, but you don't get as much access. And then based on the subscription, you can access the comics on there. They're also introducing the ability to buy them. I need to ask if that means that even if the publisher takes them off, whether you retain them or not, because I'm very, very curious about that, because I'm like, that's important. I really hope that you can indeed retain them, because if that's the case, that makes buying them worth it. If not, then it's not worth buying them at all, because then you don't own them. So, but that's just the general digital online conundrum, is it not? Yeah, a lot of people are talking about Access. I saw Team Access earlier. I just like this title. You'll do bad things. Oh, there was it wasn't this week, it was last week. It was James Tynion's latest thing, Exquisite Corpses. I really liked that one too. That was like a killer round robin type thing, and I thought that was a lot of fun. Of course, Wayne Family Adventures. I get the alerts on my phone. They're like, you can't forget you're reading this. I'm like, I know. I was ready. I was here. Yeah, we're getting down into some of the previews and other things. I just love that you can see all the stuff, though. It's so useful. Hmm. Entertain Me is proposing Damien slash Spider Boy. Yeah, other people read Exquisite Corpses. Yes. And they're going to be doing more too. So I'm like, yeah. I've got to highlight some more of the indie stuff as well. But first, there's a review that I want to do of the Downlands because I thought that was really a really interesting and heartfelt graphic novel that really tugged at my heartstrings. I want to share it with all of you in case it seems like your kind of thing. Mommy Blog has a title that is calling to me. Let's see. I'll probably check that out. I hadn't heard of that one. I think I'm gonna have to add Mommy Blog to my list. I'm actually not following World Tree. One Piece. One Piece is a juggernaut. There's some fun things coming from Mad Cave. I got an email about Speed Racer the other day that I actually need to reply to. There are a bunch of emails I need to reply to. But yes, there's some Speed Racer things on the horizon. I love when you all answer each other. Yes, World Tree is back. I'm not keeping up with it, but I do know it's back. Crush Depth, which I apparently can't say, is also pretty interesting. It's late. At least I have that excuse tonight. I don't always have that excuse, but right now I have it and I'm gonna use it. I wanted to show you some of the panels that I have. But first, let me keep scrolling. There's so much stuff coming out. Isn't it a little bit, you know, overwhelming? I find it overwhelming sometimes when you start to get down into like everything. You have to remember, like, some of them are variants, but not all of them. But yes, I wanted to show you some of these Green Lantern panels because I just think they are absolutely gorgeous. I just wanted to share them with you. This was the issue 23 where Hal had to briefly fight the Spectre. It's on the cover, but props to them, it does happen. But some of the panels are just like, look at that. This is Kyle with the Silver Scarab and the Time Bandit girl who's also there. But this has just been fun. And for people who are missing Kyle, it's like, look at Kyle out there doing things, having adventures and action. Because we have a couple of it. Look at that. Like, I know, I've seen this comment before. Kyle, stop flying the interceptor backwards. No, he doesn't know what forward is. That doesn't work as well. I have seen people say that he's flying it wrong. I still think it looks cool. Maybe if I was, more versed in those things, it would bother me more. But this is so cool. It's also just nice to see Hal's history as the Spectre acknowledged. It isn't so much anymore. I think that was a fascinating time period. This is just a nice Spectre panel. It really makes him feel like grand and cosmic. They are in hell in this issue, as you do. I love that you're still putting suggestions. Oh, Jethammer is asking, will you be doing a video on Robin and Batman, Jason Todd? Potentially. Potentially. I have a history of doing videos on Jason. So that's also probably why we're going to end up with a Batman Hush to a video at some point. Space Java has an interesting pairing here. Power Girl / She-Hulk. How do we feel about that one? I think that one has some legs. I'm sure someone's going to make an uncouth joke after I said that. They're like, no, it has some badoom. I set it up. I laid it out. Yeah, Jason Todd versus the Winter Soldier is one that's definitely out there. Oh, Alan is saying I'm catching up on a ton of Moon Knight. That's the thing. There's so much to also catch up on. All of the DC's finest, all of those Omnis are coming out. It is just a good time if you have the time and the inclination to be reading comics. Ooh, Rachel, this is an interesting idea. Saying, I thought Red Hood and Deadpool would have been more interesting. It certainly would have been more off the beaten path. I do like the pairings that kind of make you ask a question of how are we going to fit this together? But I also feel that that might not be the dominant reaction, and perhaps the dominant reaction is but why though, which is why they tend to go the more obvious route. But in general, bring it back to what I think I titled this. Let's talk about this DC/Marvel crossover. Yes, that's what I called it. I don't know. In general, I'm looking forward to it. I think that it will be hopefully at the very least an entertaining time, and I think it'll be a fun fandom time, which can be a separate independent thing from the book or the quality therein. But it's the kind of thing where you can have a really good time just discussing the characters who have been paired together, whether it works, whether it doesn't work, which company you feel had the opposite character more in character than the other. I just find all that kind of stuff really, really fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these artists go back to doing like the interiors and those kind of things on some of these characters. And I think that'll be fun. And so I don't know. I to me, it sounds like a good time. It does sound like a bit of an obvious time in terms of the characters they've led with, but I think it still sounds fun. I will admit to not being as fond of Deadpool as I was upon my first comic collection. Some of you who haven't been here for a long time don't know that Deadpool was actually one of the first comics that I collected regularly. After buying Batman Hush, which was the first trade, Deadpool was one of the first ones that I actually went and tried to collect like sequentially and everything. So I had an extreme fondness for Deadpool. A bit less so now because I will say that to me he does feel a bit oversaturated. I'm sure that's not the case for everybody. But for me, it is, and it's not just the oversaturation, it's just that sometimes the humor and the way it's employed to me can be a bit grating. But that's entirely a personal thing. I'm sure some people think it's very funny, but then I'm always kind of braced now. I'm like, oh no, they're gonna have him try to annoy Batman, and that could either be really funny or really cringe, as the kids used to say. So we shall see. Oh, DeAndre, you just want this because it would be hard for people to say Moon Knight versus Marilyn Moonlight, who is back, by the way. They're going to do more Marilyn Moonlight things. Now I am looking forward to it. Oh, Hulk versus Solomon Grundy. I was this close to making a Solomon Grundy origin video. I had to be stopped. And by that, I mean, I got distracted by rereading the Jay Garrick Flash Golden Age Flash series that came out that was with his daughter, the daughter they've retconned into continuity, and deciding whether I wanted to talk about it or not. Do I want to talk about Judy Garrick? Potentially. It's because someone asked if I wanted to talk about Dr. Elemental, and the answer to that was also potentially. Come on, Dr. Manhattan versus future Franklin Richards. I'm here for it. I'm here for it, but we're getting pretty niche with that one. There. Yes, Jay Garrick, The Flash. They did 3. They did Jay Garrick, The Flash, they did, the Alan Scott Green Lantern, and then they did Wesley Dodds Sandman, which I did talk about the first issue of, and which I did end up really enjoying. I love Wesley. I'm so happy that that second compendium is coming out. I'm always looking at, Dom of X's channel, feel like, "Is it delayed? Did they cancel it?" Because Dom of X is great about keeping up with like the prices of things, what's delayed, all of that kind of stuff. And like sometimes, especially if you're just in the background waiting on something, it's been years. It's been literally years at this point. I can wait more, but oh, I don't think that's a fair pairing for Jimmy. Kevin, and Jimmy Olsen versus Paul. What did Jimmy do to you? Jimmy's cool. He's a superhero sometimes. Don't do Jimmy like that. Oh, did anybody read Superman Unlimited? I did. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Superman Unlimited? Because there's also a bit of a time jump as well that happens there, and this is the Dan Slott Superman one they're doing, where there's a whole hunk of kryptonite heading towards the Earth. It was one of those ones where I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm still thinking about it. I need to read it again to see how I'm thinking about. I don't know. There's a lot of that happening this week. Maybe it's because I'm sick. I can't think. Oh, is that super niche? I don't know. I like this pairing a lot, Tim. Tim is saying Ambush Bug versus Impossible Man. I'm into it. Here for it. You'd have to really make sure that they stay visually distinct enough, though. Otherwise, I can see people getting confused. I saw some people, King of New York, saying that they absolutely adored it. And I'm like, oh, that's great. It was just that so much of it was spent recapping Superman's history. And a lot of it was just a crash course on Superman's history and where he is now / what is currently canon. So that was interesting to see what is in play and what is not in play. I really liked the opening bits where he was just going around saving people, and when he tips the girl who's playing her song on the bench, that was really fun. It was a lot of recap though, but for some people, this may be their first ever Superman. There's always something to bear in mind too. Jimmy Olsen versus Rick Jones is the classic team up pairing, but I feel like most people don't give Rick Jones his due anymore. When Rick Jones was put forth as one of the suspects for being Venom, it was like, wow, somebody remembered Rick Jones. Is this a new crossover? John 320 is saying, yes, it is. It's coming at us in September and November of 2025, starting off in September. Gordon Cooper, thank you very much. It is very appreciated. Particularly at this late hour, it will go towards even more of these comics and discussing them. Oh, speaking of, just in general, because Gordon is also a member. 4 members, there's going to be a vote that I'm going to post either after I do this or tomorrow morning, where I've decided it's officially happening. There are so many niche things that I want to talk about and cover that I cannot decide. Like, I would just talk about everything, but I need to be kept in check. I need to be kept in line. So I'm going to put some of the ones that I'm really deciding between up for vote to see, like, who do you want to hear about? Who do you think is more interesting? So the first one is going to be a couple of Superman love interests where I'd be happy to talk about any of them, but I have choice paralysis. So I'll put that up there. And if you're a member, you'll be able to vote and help me decide as to which really niche, obscure love interest we're going to talk about. So isn't that what Alvin is for? Keeping me in check? He thinks so tonight. The nipping. I gave them extra food too. I don't know where this is coming from. It's because I'm streaming so late that it's thrown off the routine. They're just like, what? No. Unacceptable. Ooh, interesting. MX Mothman is saying Stargirl versus Miss Marvel. I'm here for anything that gives the world more Stargirl. And I actually really think that would be a fun one. I have a fondness for Miss Marvel, even though I do think they try and put her in too many things at times. But it's why, even though I joked that I wouldn't, I'm going to end up reading Giant Size X-Men. Of course I am. Maybe that'll be when I can coordinate with Amanda again, because usually when we talk, I've read a ton of DC things and she's read a ton of Marvel things. And then we haven't read the other. I'm like, we got to coordinate so that we've read each other's things. To make sure. DeAndre Mosley, thank you very much. What do you think about Grail versus Nebula? I like that idea because I like the idea of getting more use out of Grail, but I feel like many people might think it's a little bit niche. But I am a fan of when they do like the villain team ups. That's always fun for me when you see which of the villains end up coordinating to take the hero down. Like in the very first one where you have Lex and Dr. Octopus. So it's just fascinating to see, based on the era, who are the big bads. So who would be your villain team ups? Like your crossover villain team ups, like specifically, which villains do you think would work the best to take down their heroes? You can hear my voice get like, oh no. I know, Alvin, I know. We're gonna keep it together. I want to see some some villain pairings. Streaky versus Goose. That would be a very interesting fight. Now, of course, I'm thinking about the Supergirl issue. I'm looking forward to issue 2 of Supergirl to see who else comes in, to see if the duplicate really is just straight up Lesla, or if it's someone that she's controlling, or whether it's because Lesla is there. That if you've looked at future covers, which I always do, you can see that Lesla's there, and she was wearing Lesla's dress in the first issue anyway, so it was Lesla. But I'm curious as to whether the version we're seeing in the town is just her made manifest, or if she's controlling somebody else, or it's a clone, whatever it is. I'm intrigued. Also, they did have Lena go there. She was also in the future solicits anyway, but they did have Lena go to Midvale at the end of this most recent Superman. And there was one little detail about it that was so I noted it, which was one of the plot points in Supergirl is that they've drawn her like super thick on her hometown poster when she gets back to Midvale, and that's one of the ways she's like, like something's off. Why have they made me so boobastic? Where is this boobacity coming from? And at the end of the Superman issue, it's a regular sign and it looks like regular Supergirl. I'm like, is this before, or was there not a memo about how the sign was supposed to look? Those are the kind of questions that keep me up at night. I'm like, is this because it's happening weeks before a few weeks later when Supergirl arrives? Or is this because of lack of communication? I don't know. Sometimes I have too much spare time to think. It's rare, but then that's what pops into my mind. Oh, Evan, I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed the sign. I was like, oh, good. Because that's the costume of faux Supergirl. Let's see. Tim McCabe was just saying, meanwhile, at the Legion of Doctor Doom. Yeah, you could very easily I like that one because you have to almost think about what's been changed. So it's like, what? I thought we were doing crossovers. Like, oh, you snuck it in there. Should we do an X-Men 97 rewatch? Asks Xavier Clark. There are so many things I need to do a first watch of before I start doing rewatches. I didn't even do that wrap-up video of the Suicide Squad Isekai show. I feel like I should, just because, you should start what you should finish what you start. I was going to say you should start what you finish. Like, that's some paradoxy time travel shenanigans right there. That would make entire sense if you were a time traveler. That belongs in a Booster Gold series of some kind. I know. Oh, did you hear? I just saw Clayface pop up because Space Jaw was saying Showman Clayface versus Mysterio. Did you see it? They've changed like who's writing the script and everything for the Clayface movie. It popped up for me and I was like, oh, I really liked the first writer in that potential direction. So I don't know. We shall see. We shall see where things go with that. I'm looking forward to seeing Superman, though. I think that should be very fun. I actually marked it on my calendar like a nerd, which I feel is fair because I am one. Who did it change to? I don't remember. I sadly do not remember. But you know what? We're here and I still have a few minutes. Hossein Amini is the new writer who's going to do the rewrite. So that is who the new person who they've got writing it. So now you know. It's late, so the internet is extra speedy, getting instant responses instantaneously. Sci-Flash. Will Hawkeye versus Green Arrow ever be solved? No, never. I had to read some Green Arrow recently because if you were noticing in the panels where we were talking briefly about the Starheart in the Green Lantern Oath video, and the Starheart, I think, is actually going to play some pretty significant role potentially in the Absolute Green Lantern, but we shall see. But you'll see that Green Arrow is just there in a bubble in space because sometimes he would just insist in that era that like Hal should take him on his adventures to space with him. And so then Hal has to conjure up like this bubble and take Ollie places through space. He has to expend all that extra will, and we know he doesn't know what that is, to travel around. Ben Chan, who was here earlier, made a great post in the community tab, but a quote from Tom King explaining the philosophical concept he was trying to put forth with that line. And it's such a great quote, but it does nothing to change how that line lands in the context of it. Oh, hi, Ben, you're still here. No, I loved that post. I've really been enjoying the community tab, and people say that like it's one that stays on task, and apparently not all of them do. So I appreciate that. Everybody there's just posting about comics and things like that. And it's really fun when I see someone post like a random panel or something that they enjoy, because we're all reading different things. Well, I want to post some panels from Starman, like that Space Cabbie issue, because I've just been enjoying a bunch of one-shot issues too. And the Space Cabbie issue is a lot of fun. Anytime they talk about the Space Cabbie, you know, I always tease you with the Space Cabbie retrospective. But, you know, I actually think that, you know, maybe now's the time. I'm deep in that historical mode. Maybe because they're reprinting so many things, we'll actually get a Space Cabbie omnibus. It wouldn't be an omnibus. There's not enough for that. A Space Cabbie minibus. There are Deadpool minibuses. I have them. Dan V900, thank you very much. Watcher/Tempest Fugonaut. It's time. Tempest lives. You see, you've already got the tagline and everything. It's time on anything involving time travel is just the perfect tagline. I love it so much. They're doing a bunch of Booster Gold things coming up in the Quantum Quorum and time travel shenanigans. Missed opportunity if when they have Booster Gold return from all his torture by the evil Legion, they don't have "It's time" as the tagline in the solicits. It's right there. It would be so poignant, and it would be something a bit different than the whole "everything's about to change. Things will never be the same again. You won't believe." Or what was it the one said? Hold on, let me reread that one hype line that they had over here. Oh yeah, you never expected it, but always wanted it. You've got to say those things in a faux trailer voice. In a world where some of the most popular characters are going to cross over, you never expected two of these popular characters to cross over. You knew that it was going to have to be Batman leading. What's your favorite Batman crossover, though? Just out of curiosity. I'm very fond of Batman / The Darkness. Also, there's been teasing for winter of the return of Jackie Estacado in his own series. Although it's been really fun reading him in Witchblade. They've been doing some really cool things with how the darkness is manifesting around him, because he's not the darkness as of yet. But like Sarah can see it floating around him, just like the aura of the darkness, and like she can kind of hear them. And that part has been really cool about how Jackie's kind of like cursed and marked, and they play it in that way, even though they've had Jackie retain most of his original 90s personality. He's not as extreme as he was in the 90s. I mean, what can be? So but I don't know. I love those series. I love Witchblade and the Darkness and those kind of things. Yeah. Oh, Ernesto, if you're talking about the last issue of Witchblade, we got upside down cross shenanigans. Like, it went places. There were some great, gorgeous battle panels in the last issue. I caught an accent there. Gorgeous. There's just been so much happening, so many fun things. I've really been enjoying comics lately. I always am, but this is just a period of a lot of fun things going on. We're coming up to con season too, so there's going to be a bunch of announcements for things. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to any Maybe Dallas Fan Expo. We'll see. But most likely not any. But I'm always excited to hear the news and see other people go and have a good time and that kind of stuff. And they're really leading early with some of these things. So, I mean, that's more months out than we get for solicits, even with how early they've announced some of these crossover things. Entertain me. Thank you very much. It is appreciated. I am sick. I am sick, and I think my voice has reached the end of its time, and it is a new dawn. But I just wanted to come on and chat about this and also get some feedback from all of you because I think that's some of the most fun parts of these crossovers is that interaction and reaction of the fans across the companies and just in general. And so I think it's more fun for some of these announcements personally to talk about them live than to do the little video about it, even though I always appreciate seeing all like the comments, and that way you can get some like really essay type things because people have time to really think about what they want to say about it. But this is also fun too. And like I said at the start of this, it's something I don't think I would have had time to get to outside of Alive at a really, really random time. So thank you so much for taking some time to come and hang out and chat. And it's always a good time. There'll be more videos coming soon, more interviews, more everything, more streams, maybe at more reasonable times. We shall see. So you can hear it giving out. So I'll also entertain me. Thank you very much for this last one on the way out. And that would actually be fun. DC Vampires versus Marvel Zombies. And just like Marvel Zombies, DC Vampires just keeps on going. So it's very apt. Have a good day, night, whatever it is. And I will see all of you again soon. Bye-bye.